very, very much indeed for coming this evening. I'm Carol Stone, the Managing Director of YouGov Stone. And the debate this evening at the Royal Society is, where's the influence? Google or Murdoch? So over to our chairman for the evening, the distinguished broadcaster and publisher, Andrew Neil.
We did an opinion poll on this to go through these issues. We've got the results. Please welcome the co-founder of YouGov, Stephan Shakespeare.
Good evening. This is a great time to have this debate, partly because, of course, today Rupert Murdoch declared war on both the BBC and Google, and also because our poll shows that the country is in a state of complete confusion about this very question. We asked, who do you think is most influential? And there was no question about that. 68% thought that Murdoch was the most influential, a mere 18% thought that Google was the most influential. We asked in 10 years' time, well, there was no question when we said, would it be Google or Murdoch in 10 years? That was, again, 68% in favour this time of Google, with 13% expecting Murdoch to have the most influence. No question about who they preferred, 5-1 in favour of Google.
There's a huge difference between what Murdoch does and what Google does. Rupert Murdoch seeks influence. He wants to affect how people think. Google professes not to want to do any of those things. It's not so much do no evil, but see no evil and hear no evil. And the truth of the matter is that Murdoch has been in this business of trying to affect the world that he operates in for 50, 60 years. A £12 billion corporation exists because people are willing to pay. There is an important debate that is engaging at this very moment, and Stephan referred to it in his introduction, which is pay and free. How do content creators defend their investment in content if all the world is moving to free?
But it's a foolish man who bets against Rupert Murdoch, as David has been saying, and once again he's placed himself at the centre of the current struggle within the media. It's a struggle for survival and relevance of traditional media in the midst of this profound disruption of digital that all of us in this business, the influence I think is with Rupert Murdoch at the moment, but probably with Google in the long term. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next general election next year, which will be the first blog election, the first election where I think the blogs have a real impact within the UK on what happens. But you know, the key thing really in terms of advertising at the moment is in engagement, and the value of users who are loyal to a brand and seek the brand is many, many times greater than those who come to your site simply out of the search, because they engage with your content to a greater extent and therefore engage with the advertising to a greater extent. It's certainly galling for all of us in this business that Google are the fourth most trusted news brand without actually creating any content at all, but it's something that we have to live with. But we're going through the same struggles as everyone else. I believe strongly there's still a need for public media in the digital age, but it's got to be on demand, and Radio 4 and BBC One are there for the minute, but in the future it's going to be mobile and it's going to be on demand.
Imagine the future of 2014 or 2015, I changed it recently, and that's when Google has acquired Amazon and basically controls all the world's information, which, remember, controlling all of the world's information is their ambition. That is a world when there's one company that knows absolutely everything about you. However, the issue to think about tonight is what is the threat to many of the institutions we love. They have 94% market share. When you type in an issue, imagine who is controlling what comes up first. There are businesses, many of them, that are driven out of business overnight because they dropped from 1 to 1,000 on Google's natural search engine ranking, and they have no idea, no recourse, and no one to ask.
But I chose to kind of look at the question in, around 3 points. Who's closest to the consumer? And is the consumer the customer? Who's making the most money? And then long-term, who can you avoid? There's a fundamental network orientation to business these days, and that goes far beyond just the fact that Facebook is important. In every aspect of business, there's a new set of dynamics, and it's around this network orientation. So ultimately, I think it's not so much about paid content, but who's going to control the economics of all the future business growth, the future business innovation, and that's where it does get quite scary in terms of the hold that Google has on the market, because ultimately you can't avoid them. You can choose not to watch Fox News, you can choose not to buy Murdoch's newspapers. You can't also, they'll be interesting to watch whether or not you can ultimately avoid Google. Content is the new software. Media, all media is going IP. The person who controls the alignment of the economics in that IP media world then controls really the economics for most of business.
In terms of where's the